Okay, so I've created a brand new game. It's very simple, very basic. The object is to make the cat touch the apple. The apple will then teleport to a random position. After 10 times, the game ends. It's very simple, very basic. But I have made some codes. Now, what a lot of you have is similar. You press start, you jump right into the game. You haven't really told anyone what the button commands are, so they don't really know how to use it. Maybe there's no splash screen. I personally would like a start button. You know, I'm just old school. Back in the day, playing Nintendo, Super Nintendo, there was always a start screen, there was always a menu. So, first thing we're going to do here, and I'm going to stick with the theme of the little pseudo forest, we're going to go on the bottom right where it says backdrops, and I'm going to add another backdrop, the blue sky. Okay. So, if we click on the backdrops, it will highlight the stage. And in the top left, there's a backdrops tab. So you can see I've got blue skies. It's kind of a running theme here, but I'm going to label the first one start screen. Okay. Now, I'm going to add some directions here. Let's do it over here. So we're going to do key controls, and we're going to say the up arrow moves up. I'll have to obviously move this. Okay. Pretty simple. Maybe we'll just make that black. We'll keep it red. Okay. So that is the start screen. Now, what I'm going to want to do is add a sprite as the button. So let's go to the code. Let's go, and we're going to add a new sprite, but we're going to paint our own custom sprite. And I'm going to make a simple box. Let's outline it. Let's make the outline black. Let's make it a little thicker. And let's enter in some white text. And let's have it say click to start. Make that a little bigger. Let's get that centered. Okay. Perfect. Now I'm going to position it here. And now this will be our sprite for starting the game. Problem. You notice here under the code for the cat and or the apple, when I click the green flag, it starts the game. So what can I do to make this new sprite, this click to start sprite, start the game? First thing we're going to do is we're going to take these flags, we're going to trash them. Let's go, and luckily for us, there's only, I believe, 2 on this game. You might have a lot more if you've created a custom game, and it can be work. But for now, since we're starting sort of fresh, this should be easy. So what we want to do is we're going to click on the sprite 1. I want to make sure that this is the code that we are going to work on. Here we're going to do when the flag is clicked. Now, when we click on this sprite, we're going to want it to disappear. So let's pull a few things out that we know we're going to need. First, we're going to need the show and the hide. So I know if I click this button, this sprite, I want it to hide so I can play the game. When I restart the game, I'm going to want it to show. So the first thing I'm going to do is show the sprite when that green flag is clicked. Now, we need to have some controls or the event. So we could always do, when this sprite is clicked, We're going to hide it. Let's run it and see what happens. There it is. Disappeared. Okay, let's start over. It's back. Now, just having it disappear doesn't start the game. We want it to broadcast a message. So let's go ahead under events and let's broadcast, not game over, but let's create a new message. Let's broadcast start game. So when we click this sprite, a message gets sent out in the game behind the scenes that says start game. This is where we will make our edits to the other sprites. Now, as you can see, if we start the game over, the sprites are appearing. And the backdrop is, for the most part, staying the same. We don't want that. We know that if we press the start sprite, it broadcasts a message that says start game. We want to wait for that message for the sprites. So we're going to say when I receive a message, let's go here. When I receive the start game, now it makes these commands go live. But we need to make another edit. When we press that flag, we want to hide this sprite. So let's go to looks. When we press the green flag, we want to hide the sprite. And when we receive that start game, we want it to appear. We want it to show. So let's nestle this show block underneath when I receive start game. And let's test this. When I press the green flag, sprite disappears. When I click on start, sprite appears. Perfect. We can actually take this code, we can duplicate it, bring it right over to the Apple. We're in the Apple. It did not appear to duplicate. No worries. What I'm going to do is we're going to go to the events. When I press the green flag, we're going to hide it. And when I receive that game start message, let's go back to looks. I'm going to show it. And after we receive game start, it's going to switch the backdrop to Blue Sky 2, which is the second backdrop, which is going to be, let me show you here. It's just plain. It's what we want. So let's go back to the cat. You're hidden. Apple will be hidden. The code should be good to go. Let's stop it. Let's start it. Interesting. Now you notice the start screen, we don't have our key controls. Let's go to sprite 1. Okay, here's what I know. I know that when we receive the start game, it switches the backdrop to Blue Sky 2. But I don't have any code to have it switch to the start screen. So let's do this, right where it says when flag is clicked, and you can do this on any sprite where there is that green flag click. We're going to change the look and switch the costume to, just kidding, it's not the costume, it's the backdrop. We're going to switch the backdrop to start screen. So every time I press the go flag, it's going to switch the backdrop to the start screen. There we go. Every time I click the start button, the start sprite rather, everything disappears and the game works. Now, you may not have caught it. When we're at the start screen, the score still appears. Well, guess what? Let's create some code to hide the score until we receive the message. So once again, we're going to go events. And I'm going to make this separate so that we can kind of keep it by itself and it doesn't get lost with all the other code. So when we click the green flag, we're going to hide the score variable, and we're going to eventually show it. Go back to events. When I receive the start game, I'm going to show the variable that is score. So let's press the start again. Game is running, score is gone, key controls are visible, the start button is here. Clicking on the start button starts the game, score is visible, and now we are off. And once we get to 10, it's going to give a corny little game over. Now, I haven't coded the hide and show here, but I'm going to leave that up to you. If you're implementing this in your game, can you hide the sprites when the game is over? That'll be a little test for you. Let's see if you can do that. And if you can, feel free to screencastify a recording of you walking us through it so that we can see you in action.